Welcome to another episode of Impro My guest today is Ruthie Oldershaw.
Hi. So I'm good friends with Saskia, Luke's little sister who was on the podcast. We went to school together and I live just down the road in South Brent, Devon girl.
So I'm going to play you a piece of music and I want you to tell me anything that makes you think of. Okay. So that's any sort of emotion, feelings, thoughts, ideas. It could be as abstract or as specific as you like.
Wow, it's beautiful. I did a lot of ballet when I was younger and I did a lot of dancing. Every time I listened to music, I made up dances in my head. So I find it quite difficult when I'm listening to music not to just imagine dances and build choreographies in my mind. With that one, when I first closed my eyes, it was on a beach, but it was quite an abstract beach. And the sun was rising but spinning at the same time. And then I think my mind is a little bit chaotic. So then it just went into lots of people spinning.
So tell me about the abstract beach. What do you mean by that?
So almost like someone had painted it. The sun was, if you were to draw a sun, like the yellow circle with triangular rays, and spinning around the kids painting. When I imagine people dancing, it's more people interacting. I'm not good at dancing, but I love spinning around and having fun with friends and dancing that. But in my mind, it's very fluid.
So you up for telling me some sort of story?
Yeah. A story that comes to mind is when I got really lost on Dartmoor. When you're growing up and the feeling of getting lost is such a visceral thing, isn't it? I love how with Dartmoor it feels like you can go up there and be like a guest in Dartmoor's space, but it's its own presence, isn't it? It's a really beautiful, strong presence. I got really into running just after COVID when I'd been working lots, and I didn't have any running shoes at that point. I just had normal Vans and I just left the house with no real plan and just ran. When I found that with running, it could just completely clear my mind. Such an amazing feeling. One day I took my dog, Lyra, and my sister's dog, Jensen, for a run up on Dartmoor. I'd run up to the dam. It was autumn time, the evenings drawing in much earlier. I saw this path and I thought, oh, it looks a little trail run. I'll go down there. And started running down, and I was listening to a storybook and having a great time. And it was probably 4ish and I didn't have my phone on me and I had run off the track. And suddenly I had no idea where I was. And it was getting dark. It started getting quite cold. And then I couldn't find my way back. And I ended up down at the bottom in a bog. And there were lights at the end of the field. And I just kept on thinking, oh, if I just carry on going forward, I'll get there. It's almost like Dartmoor plays tricks on you, I think. You think you're going in the right direction, but then I would be like, I'm actually getting further away. Yeah, it was quite a memorable night. We got very wet in the bog. It got completely dark. It was a couple of hours until I did find my way back. And I sort of actually trespassed, I think. But I made it back.
All right, so I'm going to break your story down into sections. First of all, we've got this sense of stress, anxiety. You've come back from work in COVID times where you were working at the hospital, weren't you?
Yeah.
And then the running, the determination there. And then there's this sense of, oh, that doesn't look quite right. I'm not quite sure. The descent of being lost. And then at the end, the realization once you've got lost. So that's the narrative points that I'm going to work on. So how did that reflect on your story?
Could feel a lot of the anxiety, stress in the music. You know, when you're describing yourself being stressed, you don't zone in too much, but in the music, it's impossible not to really zone in because
it's quite discordant, that. It's a sense of, it's not right.
Yeah, it made me want to get up and run.
And then when you were running, before you got lost, I was thinking about Chariots of Fire. Not with the classic theme, the stuff that's underneath, the kind of grounding, so staying on one note kind of tone. Yeah. And then I started using, I think it's triplets, trying to get into the rhythm of the running, what that kind of sounds like on the piano. And then gradually distorted the harmony a bit, and then the lost theme came.
Yeah. And it felt like there was also the sense of amazement at our world and at Dartmoor and nature. It was a really misty, not nice weather, like I'd probably rather stay inside.
Because you didn't mention that in the story, really? But I was imagining that when I was playing it. So you up for telling me another story then?
Yeah, okay. When I was at university, in the summers, I was still working as a student midwife, so I had to stay in Northampton. I moved into this student accommodation that was right by the hospital, and I was living in a room on one of the top floors, and it was one of those rooms with the fob cards, so it kind of locks automatically. And I left it in the room and I went out to go and have a shower, and I didn't remember to bring my towel with me. And then I realised that I had now locked myself out of my bedroom and didn't have anything to wear. So I remember I picked up the bath mat and I was like, maybe this would be a good cover. And then I thought, that's not going to work. I used the toilet roll and I wrapped and made myself literally a bodysuit of toilet roll. And then I had to walk down all of the stairs and go down to the security and explain the situation, that I've accidentally locked myself out of my bedroom and I don't have a towel, so that's why I'm currently just wearing toilet roll.
Did you like mummify yourself?
Yeah.
Wow.
But it worked effectively. It was actually fine. He was really sweet. I think he was trying not to laugh. He definitely did have a little giggle. He lent me a jacket to wear and yeah, he was really nice. And it was just funny. It was okay. I learnt a lesson.
Yeah.
I didn't shower before.
Okay.
No. I really liked that. I thought it was good. In my head, it's very light-hearted, but I don't know if it's because I've turned it that way in my head, whereas at the time, I probably was a bit freaked out. Wasn't a negative moment, maybe. Well, it wasn't positive. I'm often getting myself into embarrassing or sticky situations, funny situations.
So to be more like...
Yeah, that was it. That was definitely
Cool,
it.
okay. Yeah. Funny, maybe I was addressing it too seriously.
That little bit you did then reminded me a bit of the snowman. The dancing scene sounded a bit, do you know what I mean?
I can picture the song.
Where they all go out and then they're all having like a ceilidh.
What's your relationship to improvisation?
I have absolutely no musical talent at all, but I've done a lot of improvising through dance. Not for years now, but I think it's still in me to want to do it.
When you first learned to dance, do you remember anything about that?
I just remember being at school, not being able to concentrate. Any kind of movement and my mind clears a bit. And with dancing, I'd noticed my mind would clear and time moves differently. And I guess people talk about flow states and stuff. If I'm still, my mind is busy but frozen.
Yeah. So if I was to improvise to going into this flow state.
So starting with my usual state now, my mind's like, ah, and then going into the chilled state. Yeah, I liked it. The beginning bit, it was good busyness, but it felt almost a bit sad. It's busy, but it's not a bad busy. It's more happy, chaotic.
I was trying to go for happy, chaotic, but I didn't think I quite managed it.
That was good.
Making something that it's a bit incoherent, but it's got this happy quality to it.
A night shift is an emotional roller coaster for me because I get so anxious about night shifts. So that before I go to work, it's a bit of anxiety. It's just a normal day because the night shifts are very busy on the maternity ward. And then about 4 a.m, the energy levels really drop. And then after a night shift, I have this, it's a bit like a toddler. I'm so sad, so sad. And when I first started doing them, I'd cry after every night shift and then having a moment of like, I'm just really tired.
I think when there's a lot going on, your brain suppresses the tiredness. And you're in a hospital, which I imagine is really bright lights.
Yeah.
Like
You
all
can't
the
really be chilled, sleepy vibes on the maternity ward. I guess you're so used to all night forcing yourself to stay awake. I struggled to sleep a lot after nights. But my favourite word that I started using after doing nights and days and being all over the place, which is a horrible, I think impossible to play, is discombobulated. Isn't that a cool word? When it just feels bits of you a bit all over the place. When you walk and you're like, oh, I think I left a little bit of my brain there. And you're kind of like, I'm not sure if it's daytime or nighttime or what my name is.
Your sense of reality has been distorted.
Yeah.
It distorted, but not in a
Too bad, does
in
it?
a sinister way.
Yeah.
And I can imagine hospitals like that. There's this constant stuff going on, people and
imagine.
emotions, and people getting upset about things.
The times don't really mean anything because night shifts are just as busy as days. It's a 24-hour thing, which I think is a weird state.
So I'm going to play a soundtrack to the Discombobulation, and
Okay, cool.
be the latest hit. The chaos, the running around, it's nighttime, you're having to do stuff constantly, you're experiencing a lot of different things, and then this odd tiredness.
A crash, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
a energy crash. That was so good. There was a real moment of the crash.
Yeah.
You kept trying to carry on when you're so tired. Yeah. Could feel that.
Imagine quite fragmented experience
It was like
into the tiredness that would be at the end of the shift.
Yeah. No, that was cool. I really like that.
What do you think you got out of this podcast?
Firstly, it was just really cool hearing everything translated into music. Music is really important, isn't it? You feel it in your skin. I think it also made me reflect on thinking about my mind being really busy and the difference with when I am moving. And
Probably quite beneficial to be aware of that. You gain a sense of self-awareness by saying, oh, look, I'm chaotic today. Okay, let's go. And then working out ways to create this sense of space.
Because always I'm trying to make everything lighthearted and fun. And then that in music is so one thing, but it made me think that actually I don't have to be super la, 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 fun all the time. You know, it made me want to connect more to that, because if you think of it as in music, you wouldn't want to just listen to like really chaotic, loud, happy sounds all the time.
Yeah, and I think that you don't have to explain it because it's music.
Yeah.
And so you can say quite a lot of stuff which might be really hard to talk about just by being emotively and playing in a certain way.
Yeah.
It's just amazing, really, because you don't have to process it in an intellectual way. I don't anyway, some people might. It explains itself. You don't have to explain it. Well, thanks very much for being on the podcast.
Thank you. I had a lovely time.
Join us next week for another episode of Impro Pod. Thanks for listening.